The Mr. Men and Little Misses Adventure with Pirates. Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Happy and his friends were sailing happily across the ocean on Mr. Happy's yacht. "This is the life," said Little Miss Sunshine. Just then a shadow fell across the yacht. At first Mr. Happy thought it was a cloud, but when he looked round he realized that a ship had sailed up behind them. A tall sailing ship. A tall sailing ship with cannons sticking out of its portholes. A tall sailing ship with the Jolly Roger flying from its mast. "Farmers!" screamed Little Miss Scatterbrain in fear. Well, they weren't farmers, they were pirates, but she was right to be scared. It was the infamous Captain Yellowbeard, the most ruthless buccaneering buccaneer of all buccaneers. And when Mr. Happy and his friends were hauled aboard the pirate ship, they discovered just how ferocious Yellowbeard was.
"You have a choice,"
he snarled.
"Join my crew or walk the plank."
They all decided it was probably best to become a pirate. Everyone except for Mr. Impossible. "I'll walk the plank," he said. "Oh, goody!" cried the crew. But their pleasure was short-lived. When Mr. Impossible reached the end of the plank, he did not fall into the ocean. He kept on walking in the air. He did not even wet his feet. The rest of them soon realized what a hard life it was being a pirate. They had to get out of their hammocks before the sun was up in the morning. Mr. Lazy found it particularly difficult. He kept getting into trouble for falling asleep. He fell asleep scrubbing the deck. He fell asleep climbing the rigging. He fell asleep at the ship's wheel. He even fell asleep out on the yard arm. It was also all very confusing. Everything aboard ship was called by a different name. The kitchen was the gallery, the back of the ship was the stern, and the front was the prow. Poor Mr. Dizzy was made the ship's cook. He did not know whether he was coming or going. Everyone wanted eggs for breakfast. Oh dear! Mr. Dizzy was not the only one in a bit of a muddle. Mr. Wrong pointed his cannon in the wrong direction during firing practice. Boom! Oh dear, oh dear! They were aboard the pirate ship for a week before they learnt what Captain Yellowbeard had in store for them. It turned out that the pirates were searching for Blackbeard's treasure. They had a map which marked where Blackbeard's treasure-laden ship had sunk. It also turned out that the pirates did not know how to swim. So Captain Yellowbeard wanted Mr. Happy and his friends to dive down to the wreck and retrieve the treasure. Blackbeard's ship had sunk off the coast of Skull Island, and Mr. Wrong was sent up to the crow's nest to keep a lookout for the island. Eventually, after a lot of going round in circles, they found Skull Island. Mr. Happy and his friends had to put on diving suits and were then lowered to the wreck. As the wreck came into view, Mr. Happy saw there were sharks circling it. How were they ever going to get to the treasure? And then suddenly the water turned pink. But that's impossible. Well, it's not impossible for a certain person called Mr. Impossible. The sharks were so surprised that they all swam away. The sharks had gone, but their problems were not over. Mr. Happy clambered through the rotting wreck until he found the treasure chest. But it was not the chest that caught his attention. What caught his attention was the giant octopus with enormous tentacles sitting on top of the chest. However, the octopus's tentacles were no match for Mr. Tickle's arms. Within seconds, Mr. Tickle had the octopus tied up in knots, and they were able to retrieve the treasure. Once they had hauled the treasure ashore, Mr. Forgetful was given the task of burying it to keep it safe. He dug a deep hole, lowered the chest to the bottom, and filled it in. The pirates had gone off for an afternoon snooze while they waited for Mr. Forgetful to finish the hard work. "It's all done," said Mr. Forgetful, waking the captain.
"Excellent,"
said the captain.
"Where did you bury it?"
Mr. Forgetful looked at Captain Yellowbeard, and then he looked at the long, long beach. "I can't remember," he said. The captain was furious. But not nearly as furious as when he realized that Mr. Happy and his friends had taken the longboat while they were busy digging, and Captain Yellowbeard and the pirates were marooned on Skull Island. And Mr. Happy and his friends continued their cruise aboard the pirates' ship. "Hooray for Captain Happy!" they all cried. "Hooray for Farmer Happy!" agreed little Miss Scatterbrain. What's your pirate name? Choose the month you were born in and the first letter of your name. Thank you for listening.